Alright guys, it's time to get this engine cleaned up. So just wanted to go over with you real quick how I'm going to go about cleaning this engine. As you can see, I have my parts laid out here. Got the crankcase and the piston, lower half of the engine right here. I got the cylinder right here, my head gasket, intake manifold, carburetor, velocity stack. This was the cause of the problem. We had some dirt ingestion, and as you can see on the top of the piston right there, that is some carbon buildup. That's a combination of dirt and two-stroke oil that's burned into the top of the engine, and the bottom lower half of the engine here has some dirt in it as well. So I'm going to be cleaning this whole thing up, and I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to do it. So basically, I told you guys I was going to be buying this parts washer, which is really cool. It's just basically like an oil drain pan with a pump that's compatible with any 5-gallon bucket. After I received this, unfortunately, the instructions said you can only use it with a water-based degreaser. You can't use any flammable parts cleaner in it. So I did purchase the Blaster parts washer solvent, but unfortunately it is petroleum based and it has a flash point at 120 degrees, so that will not be able to be used with this. As you can see, I went out and got some Purple Power, which is a water-based cleaner degreaser, which will work excellent with this parts washer. And you can't really see it, but down in the bottom there, it has a pump that basically suction cups to the bottom of any standard 5-gallon or 10-gallon bucket. And so what I'm going to do is basically get a clean oil drain pan here, and I'm going to be using a mixture of cleaning solutions. This is my favorite cleaning solution, Birkenbiel. This stuff works really good. If you can't get Birkenbiel, you can also use the Gunk engine degreaser stuff. A little bit windy out today. It's been cold and rainy here on Long Island, New York, but the sun is finally coming out, so I'm gonna make this happen today, guys. So apologize about the wind, but yeah, you can use Birkenbiel. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put these parts inside my cleaned oil drain pan. I'm going to get the initial dirt off of it, spray the whole thing down with my Birkenbiel, and then I'm going to add a little bit of this Blaster part solution here, and I'm going to use a variety of scrub brushes. Now, you want to be really careful when you do this. I bought a 3-pack. One is a stainless steel scrub brush, one is a nylon, and one is a brass. I prefer using the brass because it's usually non-abrasive, and you really don't want to use this on the actual surface of the piston here on the side, because you don't want to stand any chances of scoring the piston or the inside of the cylinder. But what I will use it is to scrub the top of the piston, which is okay, and I will use it to scrub the base of the crankcase right here, and I will use it to scrub, you know, the whole outside of the engine, just get everything cleaned up. And then when I'm all done cleaning the parts, I will use my water-based solution here, my Purple Power, to just clean everything really thoroughly, get all that dirt and excess oils off of it. And then I will use my compressor to just blow all the parts off, get everything cleaned up, spotless. And then I will show you the rebuild of the engine, where I will be resealing it. There's my copper head gasket, which I will be cleaning this up as well, getting all that sealant off of there, which I bought a new package of the sealant that I like to seal the head gasket with, and this is Ultra Copper High Temperature, see, maximum temperature sealant, and that's what's on there right now. So I use the copper head gasket, so I will be resealing it with the high temp Permatex copper silicone. So that's pretty much the plan. I'm going to get everything cleaned up, and then I will show you guys the rebuild of the engine. Let's do this. Make it happen. Guys, I'm halfway through the cleaning process here. As you can see, I got my pump going here, and I cleaned up the cylinder really well. It cleaned up really nice. As you can see, I have the majority of that sealant material off the skirt of the cylinder here, and I have my Purple Power now, just flushing out all the excess oils and stuff like that. So I'm just going to let that sit in here. About halfway through with cleaning the lower half of the crankcase of the engine. As you can see, it's cleaning up really really nice. This is the scoring that I was telling you guys about, which is not good, but I'm interested to see how much life I could bring back into this engine. It's not some major scoring, just something I like to refer to as battle scars. But we'll see what happens. I'm going to show you guys that you can breathe new life into this engine. So I'm about halfway through. I've been dumping in some blaster into the crankcase right there, flushing out the bearings. You do have your crankcase bearing right here. It's like a needle cage bearing, and you also have your crankshaft bearings on either side. So I continuously keep flushing out the crankcase with the Birkenbiel and just letting all this gunk and everything come out of the lower half of the engine, which has been cleaning up nicely. And as you can see, look at the top of my piston. Looks brand new, right? Just using a nice brass scrub brush on it. And you can see this is the exhaust side of the piston where there's no scoring on it at all. I still have some more cleaning to do on here. And I don't think I'm going to go too crazy with the velocity stack, the carburetor. I'm probably going to use some cleaning solution for the head gasket, even the clutch bell. I'm probably just going to use the water-based cleaner on those. I really just needed the solvent solution, the petroleum-based stuff, to really break down a lot of this oil and a lot of this crud that was on this engine. But everything's cleaning up really well. I do run outerwears covers on my engines, so I did take off a lot of that sticky residue off of there, because I will be putting some new Velcro on this engine as well. So I'm about halfway through, guys. I'm just going to clean everything up, and then I'll show you the finished product of the clean parts. All right, guys, check it out. Everything has been cleaned up, and I'm getting ready for the reassembly. I think it cleaned up quite nicely. Check everything out. Everything is super clean. Everything has been dried off, degreased. I do have some lubricant right there on my piston. That's some 2-stroke oil that I put on there just to lubricate everything up. Put some oil there in the cylinder just to keep everything lubed up. But I just want to give you some quick history on this in case some of you out there had missed my 2019 update video, and just give you a little bit of history on what's going on with this engine, where does it come from, what's going on. So this is the stock engine that came on my Losi 5T 1/5 scale RC vehicle. And at the time when you purchased that truck, I've had it for about 6 or 7 years ago. At that time, the truck came stock with a CY26, a Chongyang 26cc engine. But I did upgrade to a 28.5cc engine, which basically all I did was replace the piston and the cylinder, and that raised the engine up to a 28.5cc. I believe it increased the diameter of the piston and the cylinder by 2.5 millimeters. So it is the stock crankcase, stock crankshaft, connecting rod, everything on the lower end of the engine is stock. The only thing I changed was the piston and the cylinder. And not only did I replace the piston and the cylinder, but the cylinder was ported by a company called ESP, Earth Surfer Products. And basically what they did when it says that it was ported is basically they machine ported the intake and the exhaust on it to give it a little bit more performance. So this is the exhaust side of the engine, and this is the intake. So basically, it might be hard to see, but they basically machined the bottom here of the intake, because the air comes in and goes downward into the crankcase. So they had machined out some material there on the bottom of the exhaust port, and then on the exhaust they machined out, as you can see that those markings right there, they actually machined out material on the exhaust. As the air comes out of the engine, it exhausts out, and it just gives it some more performance than if you were to just go out and get a 28.5cc piston and cylinder. It is a Chongyang, but it has been ported by the company ESP. So when I did the big bore kit, I also replaced the head gasket, because it comes with a stock paper head gasket, which is horrible, because after many heat cycles, that head gasket will eventually blow out and then you'll have a giant head gasket leak. So I went with a copper head gasket, which just basically creates a better seal, better heat resistance, and I figured it was a permanent head gasket. Basically, that's what I did. And I was trying to explain in the other video what I do to help seal the head of this engine is I actually dimple the surface here of the crankcase with a punch. I have an automatic punch and I just go across and I create dimples there to create a better seal, okay? And I also do that on the skirt of my cylinder here. So it just helps create a better seal, which I found works excellent. Gives it a little bit more surface area. And you might notice that there is some red material right in there. That's just the remnants of the sealant that I also use in addition. So basically what I'll make is a copper sandwich right here. I just take a light bit of copper silicone. This is Permatex Ultra Copper high temperature silicone. And I'll take just a little bit on the tip of my finger and I'll just dab it across here. I'll dab it across there. So I'll have my silicone here on the base of the crankcase. Then my gasket goes on top of that. And then everything gets sandwiched together, and I will let that cure for a good 24 hours before I even start up the engine. Okay, so that's basically the history on this engine. I built this engine with my own hands. I want to breathe new life into this engine. It needed to be rebuilt. It had some dirt intake because unfortunately my after years of use, my DT1 triple stage air filter right here failed me and it sucked in a bunch of dirt. So I just want to rebuild it. And I've done tons of upgrades to the stock engine and I feel that it performs incredibly. Okay, I'll have to start it up and do some running videos to prove to you guys, but I know some of you were asking what were the differences that you did on this engine. So I'll just show you some of the upgrades that I've done. So I put a lightened flywheel. This is a stock Chongyang flywheel, but it was prop balanced and machined by a company called DARKSOUL. So this is your stock flywheel that came with it. And as you can see, there is a big difference in the size and diameter of the fins, as well as you can see where they have machined out material on the inside. This one does not have that. So this was the stock flywheel. I replaced that. Okay. This was my upgraded DARKSOUL vented clutch housing, which you can see if I spin the engine around. This is the two go together. This is the vented clutch bell housing, and I'll show you the differences between that and the stock. This is the stock one right here. So as you can see, the stock one is not vented at all, and look at how much of that clutch material from the stock clutches that just gets trapped in there, and it's not vented at all, so all that heat stays in there. And this is the bell housing, which it does have some heat sink properties to it, but it's still not vented. So you can see the difference between that, which is like just pot aluminum, and this is machined billet aluminum, which is absolutely just beautiful. So I have that on there, and I also upgraded the clutch system. This is the ELCON clutch system, which I found works great with this size engine. No more clutch shoes or anything like that, no more springs, and I found that it's worked great. Okay, what else can I go over right here? This is the upgraded carburetor. Okay, the stock carburetor that came with it is a WALBORO WT668 carburetor, which is a good carburetor all around. It does have a choke, a manual choke on it. And the differences between this and the WT990 carb that I put on there is the fact that this carburetor has a better fuel pump and it gives you better low end acceleration, and it does not have a manual choke. So you are going to have to prime it to get your fuel flowing, and then what you'll do is you'll just prime the carburetor with a few pulls of the PULLSTART to get the fuel flowing, and then boom, you start it right up. It's a little bit harder to get the engine started with this carburetor, but it performs so much better than the stock 668 carb. This right here is my upgraded RB Innovations insulator block, intake manifold, heatsink, whatever you want to call it. I think they basically incorporated all three of those into this one design, which it's a beautiful thing. I'll show you what the stock one looked like. It's kind of a joke. This is a stock insulator block for your intake. Works well, you know, works good, but look what RB Innovations has done is they've made this giant beautiful piece of billet aluminum that has a heatsink built into it, and not only that, it incorporates the use of a filter. And basically when your carburetor gets bolted up to that, as you can see, it'll basically filters out your diaphragm right here, so no dirt or, you know, sand or anything can enter into the carburetor, which is a great added feature. Okay, so that's my upgraded intake manifold insulator block right there. This is the stock intake for the engine. This bolts up to the other side of the carburetor. As you can see, it's just a pretty standard piece of plastic that the air filter bolts to, but I upgraded to the DDM Velocity stack. And as you can see by the shape of that, it basically funnels in the air into the engine. So, you know, when you want to upgrade an engine or make it perform better, you want to take care of the air coming into the engine and the air going out of the engine. So this Velocity stack bolts right up there, and as you can see, it funnels the air right into it, which is way better than this, right? And then this was the stock air filter system that came with the truck, which you can see is very restrictive. So that's why I had upgraded to TGN DT1 low profile air filter system, which has worked great for me. I always clean it after every run, and I do use BELLCRAK air filter foam. But unfortunately, after years of use, you can see there was still just dirt coming in there, even with the use of an outerwear. This outerwear covers our breathable mesh that go to the outside of that. So with all that protection, it still allowed dirt to come into the engine. So I do have a new air filter coming in and a new outerwear coming in, because this elastic here is a little stretched out. So I will show you guys what everything looks like when it's all done. So yeah, so that's the stock intake air filter for it. So you can see the changes that I've done to it already. And like I said, you want to take care of the air coming in, and then you also want to take care of the air going out. So check out my Bartalone Racing Big Bore XP exhaust pipe. That thing is insane, right? It just allows all the exhaust gases to just come out of that engine. It just breathes so well. And I'll give you an idea of what the stock muffler looks like. This was it right here. I mean, it's kind of a joke, but it works good, you know, in stock form. And not only the design of the Losi 5T, this actually will blow on the inside of your body and your roll cage, and it'll just make everything gunked up with two-stroke oil. So this right here with the stinger, it kind of exhausts out near the rear tire, so you won't get any of that gunk buildup or anything like that. And that's it. I know I've had a lot of people ask me about the housing here. This is just plastic, a plastic chrome housing, and also the PULLSTART housing. This is what the stock one looks like. It's just black here. So I just wanted to give it a shinier look. This is the stock plastic, so you can see the difference between that. And that's the difference between the stock housings, but most importantly, this is my upgraded PULLSTART. This is the Turtle Racing upgraded, I believe it's the V2 PULLSTART. It comes with a steel braided rope, okay, so you don't have to worry about the rope breaking on it, and it bolts right up to there. And you also have to mount the Turtle Racing starter poles, which is all beautiful billet aluminum, right? These are the starter poles. This is what grabs the inside right here on your PULLSTART. These are the stock ones. Like, this is a joke, and obviously I have two of them because I had so many problems with these. They wear out, they're made out of plastic, so I got rid of that, and ever since I put this Turtle Racing PULLSTART on here, I've had no problems at all. One other thing I wanted to touch on is this is my ignition coil right here. So I did upgrade to the MSD ignition coil wire. It looks really cool, but the diameter of the wire probably helps with the ignition. And this is the Super B Killer B kill switch, which is basically like a 4-way kill switch. It kills the engine manually on your remote. It'll kill the engine if your RX battery dies or if you go out of range, and then you can also use it standard just by pressing the button. So it's a 4-way kill switch, fail safe. You never want to have any chance of a runaway with a giant 1/5 scale vehicle. This is the 2-stroke oil that I use. As you can see, I put a little pinhole on there, and what I'll do is I'll drop just a drop on there and just lubricate everything up. You want to just make sure that you use the 2-stroke oil. I mean, you don't have to, but I like to use the 2-stroke oil that I'm going to use when I run my engine. And this is the 2-stroke oil that I swear by. I know there's many different fully synthetic 2-stroke oils out there on the market. A lot of guys like to use AMSOIL. This is what I like to use. I'm a different kind of a guy, so I was a small engine mechanic for many years of my life, and I've seen this oil protect engines big time. Air-cooled chainsaws getting buried in wood on hot summer days running 13 to 15,000 RPMs. This oil works phenomenally, and this is the only oil I've ever used in this engine in a company with 100 octane fuel, Cam 2 fuel. So I'll use the 2-stroke oil that I use in my fuel just to lubricate the piston and the cylinder. And I love this oil. It's fully synthetic, it's biodegradable, and what I've noticed the difference between this and other 2-stroke oils is you don't have a lot of that gunk shooting out of your pipe. You know, they make it biodegradable because I guess guys that are working in the forest, you know, if they spill any on the forest floor, it's not going to contaminate the environment. But it also just burns cleaner and just works really, really good at protecting your engine. Okay, who knows how bad this scoring could have been if I was using a different kind of 2-stroke oil, you know? And like I said, the scoring is noticeable, but it's not crazy, and I just want to show you that you can breathe new life. You can still see the machine marks on the piston, so I just consider these battle scars as of right now. So that's about it for me today, guys. Just wanted to give you a little bit of history. Stay tuned for the next part of this rebuild series where I'm going to finally get this engine back together, and I will show you it running, and I will show you it in the truck and the truck running, okay? So I'm going to have to make this up into multiple parts because it's going to get too long if I try to fit it in all in one video. I don't want to bore you guys too much, but hopefully it can help some of you guys out there. You know, hopefully you'll learn a little something from this rebuild series. And that's about it for me today, guys. I hope you're all making it happen in your RC worlds. And for now, this is Chris, the Everyday RC Guy in 2-stroke land, saying thanks for watching. Make it happen.